went to Kenya in the heart of Africa to meet a man whose life has already been transformed by microcredit. Only 50 miles from the big game and beautiful landscapes of the Rift Valley lies the economic heart of East Africa. Kenya's capital, Nairobi, is also home to the largest slums on the continent, with around half of the 3 million residents living in shanty towns. Arguably the worst of these slums is the infamous Mathari Valley, home to 700,000 poor Kenyans. At its most crowded, 200,000 are crammed into an area the size of Central Park, where raw sewage flows down the street, and tribal tensions are never far from boiling over. This is where Wilson Maina has lived all his life.
I've lived here for 37 years. This is where I was born, brought up, and I'm still living here.
Wilson's home is a tin shack set precariously on the banks of the valley. He lives here with his wife and 3 children.
This room is a single room. There is no place to put another bed. At night, we put the table on top of the chair. We put some clothes down so that the children can sleep. We don't have electricity. We don't have water. Sanitation-wise is very poor. I don't like.
Wilson's father left when Wilson was barely walking, and he and his sister were brought up by his mother in a house that was 10 foot square. At the age of 14, he left his home to find his fortune on the mean streets of Mathari Valley.
I was stealing, mugging people, snatching watches.
With no formal employment, Wilson quickly became a full-time thief.
We used to hang their necks like this. Then you hold it tight. Then you take all the money, take the shoes, take the watches, and you run away. It was just a bad job.
One person who watched Wilson descend into a life of crime was his old school friend, Jane Njoki.
Me and Wilson, we were born in Mathari. We grew up together, so I knew him since we were young.
She knew better than anyone the danger he was in unless he turned his life around.
Many young people have died by mob justice. When they see somebody has stolen something, a crowd of people will come after you. They can either burn you or beat you with stones until you die.
But before the mob could get him, Wilson was caught by the police and sent to prison for what would turn out to be the first of several long stretches behind bars. Even the hellish Kenyan jails weren't enough of a deterrent. Each time, Wilson would return to thieving, dodging police and gang bullets. But he couldn't dodge them forever.
I was shot, got healed, and after I had recovered fully, I went back to stealing. To be shot is just one way of finding the easiest way to die. It's better to die because of a bullet rather than die because of hunger.
But Wilson's story is only too common in Mathari Valley. Into this deprived and hostile environment came an organization called Jamii Bora. It was started by an extraordinary woman determined to bring microfinance to the poorest and most disadvantaged people in Kenya.
We started with beggars and what I thought would be a little club of a few beggar women. It grew like bushfire, and we now have more than 140,000 members. which is 140,000 families. It's almost 1 million Kenyans.
Jamii Bora's growth has been funded almost entirely by its members. The interest paid on the $30 loans and the savings that go alongside them have turned it into a multi-million-dollar business.
Our strength is that all our staff come from the membership. All my social workers are ex-beggars or ex-plantation workers. And they were beggars and plantation workers when they started with us. Our staff in the worst slums, in those branches, they have all been born there and grown up there, and they know the situation. They are not afraid.
Wilson's old school friend Jane Njoki has no shortage of that experience. Growing up in Mathari, her own mother often worked as a prostitute.
I told her, you know what, Mom? I don't want to be like you. Okay, I know you have been doing this because you wanted to take care of us. You didn't want us to go with hunger. I told her, I don't want to follow your footsteps. I want my life to be different. Branch where we normally, Mathari branch is the leading branch in Jamii Bora. We are almost 8,000 and above members.
Jane is a stubborn and fantastic girl, and she runs one of our most fantastic branches. Having reached 25% of the households in that area, it takes a strong person. And she has risen very fast from being a trainee to being an assistant loans officer, to being loans officer, to now being branch manager.
Jamii Bora is essentially a bank with all the financial facilities that you'd expect from your local branch.
In a way, they are trained how to be saving their own money, because not many banks, maybe they will allow people from the slums to join their bank. We train these people that tomorrow's success begins today, but tomorrow's success cannot begin tomorrow.
But could Jane help her old school friend Wilson? With the police on his tail and the locals baying for his blood, she was determined to give it a try. Wilson was faced with a dramatic choice. Could he swap a life of crime for a career as a legitimate businessman?
When Jamii Bora came, then I told him, you know what, Wilson? Now this is an organization has come here, and this organization want to help those people who want to help themselves.
I went there with 2 hearts. Will they dare to give me money, knowing very well that I was a thief? But Jane was there. She had counseled me a lot, and she had assured me, Wilson Minor, I'm assuring you, you will get money.
You come, I will introduce you there. You'll be saving just 50 shillings, and then within time, you'll get a loan and you'll start your own business. You have to try.
I was told I have to stop that habit of stealing and whatever. So I went to bus stop, where our mothers, when they come from the market with big sacks, I would carry in turn those sacks to their nearest homes.
For his efforts, they paid him between 20 and 30 cents a time. Over the period of a year, Wilson managed to save 1,000 Kenyan shillings with Jamii Bora, the equivalent of only $15.
Terms and conditions of Jamii Bora is that you must save with them. Then they give you a loan. The loan that Jamii Bora gives you is twice the amount of your savings.